Okay, we're here in Ephesus. Is this not amazing? All the different voices singing, all the different languages singing, it's amazing. So we're going to start with Acts 19, verse 23. About that time there occurred no small disturbance concerning the way. For a man named Demetrius, a silversmith, who made silver shrines of Artemis, was bringing no little business to the craftsmen. Now Demetrius made little figurines of the temple of Artemis. And it was amazing because it's like if you were in Paris, you might buy a little Eiffel Tower and take it home as a souvenir. And here this guy's making of the temple and selling them out of silver. He's making a lot of money, and so were his friends. So he gathered together with the workmen of the similar trades and said, "Men, you know that our prosperity depends upon this business. You see and hear that not only in Ephesus, but almost in all of Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away a considerable number of people, saying that gods made with no hands are no gods at all." That's right. And Paul was telling the truth, but it was costing them money. And then it said, now there's a danger that this trade of ours fall into disrepute, but that the temple of the great goddess Artemis be regarded as worthless, that she whom all of Asia and the world worship be dethroned from her magnificence. When they heard this, they were filled with rage, being crying out, saying, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." Now, you got to imagine, the riot started not far from here over in the market, and these guys are so upset that they're losing business, they start getting people all worked up, saying, "We got to stop this guy, Paul, from teaching untruth." And he got some other people with this, and when it says, when they heard this and were filled with rage, they began crying out, saying, "Artemis, greatest Artemis of the Ephesians." The city was filled with confusion, and they rushed with one accord into the theater. This theater holds 25,000 people. You have 250,000 people in the city of Ephesus. And this theater, they came in here. We don't know how full it was, but it must have been a bunch because they called it a riot, probably 10 or 15,000 people. And when Paul wanted to go into the assembly, the disciples would not let him go. And some of the others who were friends of his repeatedly urged him not to go into the theater. And some were shouting one thing and some were another, for the assembly was in confusion. The majority did not know for what reason they had come together. Some of the crowd concluded it was Alexander, since the Jews had put it forward, and having motioned with his hand, Alexander was intending to make a defense to the assembly. But when they recognized he was a Jew, a single outcry arose as they shouted for 2 hours, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." Notice that as soon as they found out it was a Jew, they didn't want to hear him. The Jews were persecuted then just like they are today, just like the Christians were then. This particular theater is made of it's a half theater, which is over here they call it a theater, and an amphitheater they call a full circle. So it's opposite what we call it in America. But when they recognized he was a Jew, a single outcry arose, and they were screaming. So after quieting the crowd, the town clerk said, "Men of Ephesus, what man is there who does not know that the city of Ephesians is the guardian of the temple of the great Artemis, the image which fell down from heaven? Since these are undeniable facts, you ought to keep calm and do nothing rash." Now, he called it facts, that this image fell down from heaven. Well, what they speculate is that the image was a meteorite that came from the sky and hit the ground. Everybody saw it, and the meteorite, as it hit, had a sort of a distorted image and looked like a woman with a lot of breast. So they thought it was the god of fertility. They did, thinking that this was the god of fertility had come to them, and so they began worshiping this, and they built a temple. Now, when they built the temple, it ended up being one of the 7 wonders of the world. This is a huge temple, 4 times the size of the Parthenon. We're talking 400 by 200 feet and 80 feet high. This is some temple. We're talking huge. It lasted until 263 AD, until the earthquake at that time wiped it out. It was also like a treasury, and they used it as a bank. And it's one of the Ephesian wealth was all being guarded by this god. And people came from all over Asia, all over the Mediterranean really, to see one of these 7 wonders of the world. And it was a magnificent thing to see. I wish we had had some better pictures of it, but not much survived it. So Paul said, men of who does not know that the city is the image which fell down from him. So, since these are undeniable facts, you should keep calm and do nothing rash. For you have brought these men who are neither robbers of temples nor blasphemers of our goddess. So then, if Demetrius and the craftsmen who are with them have a complaint against this man, the courts are in session. Take it to the judge. Let them bring charges against one another. But if you want to do anything beyond this, it should be settled in a lawful assembly. They did not want the Romans to come in and say this is a riot and clamp down on them and take away the privileges that they had, which Rome would do if there was a riot going on. For we are in deep danger of being accused of a riot in connection with today's events, since there's no real cause for it. And this connection will be unable to account for this disorderly gathering. And after this, he dismissed the assembly, and they went their own way. But this is where we're standing and we're sitting in the place that this took place. Right here, you're seeing your Bible come alive. Ephesus, the theater in Ephesus.